Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to be talking about individual coverage HRAs, and here to present is Steve Kielman of TASC.
Thank you, Margie. My name is Steve Kilman, like Margie said, and I'm from TASC. And today we're going to talk a little bit about something that's new and exciting. It's called the ICHRA, or the ICHRA. I've had the great opportunity of being able to speak about this in different places around the country, and in the last few days, I actually got to do this in a large metro area. And what I've really found out is that this is truly an opportunity for someone in the small business community to help not only save costs on the price of insurance and out of their out-of-pocket medical expenses, but it really is a way to attract employees to that employer, and probably more importantly, to help them retain employees from that employer. So again, I introduced myself. I'm Steve Kilman. I'm the Vice President of the Micro Business Sales Division. We serve the market that's 50 or less employees, so we call the micro division. I joined TASC all the way back in 1992, so I've been here for almost 27 years, or 28 years, I guess now. I manage not only a territory that I live in, but I also manage 20 regional sales directors and another 7 inside sales or micro enrollment specialists. After this 27 years of my industry experience, not only in sales, but in product and sales management, I've become an expert in the medical fringe benefit and employee benefit plans arena. So I want to tell everybody, just for a housekeeping note here, everyone will be muted today. We're going to allow you to type questions into the chat box so we don't disrupt the conversation, because we have a limited time budget today. And at the end, if there are questions, we will address those. And if there's a lot of questions, we'll do an FAQ that we'll pass out to everybody that's attending the call today. So what we're going to do today is talk about the individual coverage HRA. And you may hear me call that ICHRA, which again isn't the most attractive name that they've ever given a product. But we're going to talk about the individual coverage HRA, some of the other TASC benefits that are available. We're going to how you can offer TASC benefits to your clients, and then last but not least, and just as importantly, how to contact us. So the individual coverage HRA, or the ICHRA, as it's going to be known in this presentation, and probably what you're going to hear in the field a lot, is something we're going to get into. So first of all, I want to talk about how it gets started. So it was started because of a change in the IRS regulations in 2013. They're actually kind of made it difficult to at least to understand whether or not we could do individual coverage, either through an HRA or through a flex plan. And then there was another notice that came along. It was called 2015-87 that we don't have listed on here. And that completely shut down the use of individual health insurance for participation in an HRA or a flex plan. But then we got some relief. CHRA came in December of 2016. That did allow some individual HRAs, some individual insurance with HRAs. The rules were complex. There was limitations on participation dollars. And then it was just generally confusing, but it was a move in the right direction. And then finally, on October of 2017, Trump issued an executive order to the Treasury, to Labor, and to Health and Human Services, and they wanted the use of HRAs to be expanded. And then on October 23rd of 2018, they finalized the regs. Basically, that was done on June 13th of 2019. And I think the summarization of that was that a company-funded tax advantage health plan or health benefit used to reimburse employees for out-of-pocket expenses and or individual premiums. So we have to talk a little bit about the particulars of this plan. We kind of know the origins of it. Let's talk about how it works, the design. It has to be on a calendar year. There's no excuse or no exception to that matter. The employers of any size may offer this, and different from the CHRA, there is no maximum amount. So that's very helpful to employers. The nice thing is, when we talk about eligibility, is that any employer can do this. There's no size restrictions. There are no minimum participation requirements. And we'll see a few more on the next slide. So you can offer this with both group and individual health insurance. So you can have both. So either one can be done. And it must be offered to separate classes of employees. And that's not an employee's opportunity to make that determination. That's the employer. So again, we can offer this to a group that has both group coverage and individual insurance, but it has to be classed out. So if we're going to talk about classes, here's what has to happen. A class of 100 employees or less, they have to have 10 employees in each class. So there's a requirement for 10 employees per class. When they have between 100 and 200 employees, that has to be equal to or greater than 10% of all employees. So if we had 150 participants, or employees rather, we'd have to have 15 people per class. And then if you have more than 200 employees, then we're going to have 20 people per class. So when I talk again about eligibility a little bit more, we have to follow both the regulations and the client plan design. They have to have individual coverage, and you cannot be covered under, and pay attention to this, you cannot be covered under a spouse's group plan, short-term insurance, or a healthcare sharing ministry. And you are, as I talked about a minute ago, able to class out. So next we're going to talk about class sizes. And this applies when offering both group health insurance and individual coverage. And you may use the following 5 classes to determine ICHRA eligibility: full-time status, part-time status, salaried pay, hourly pay, or by geographic location. Then we are going to then talk about what actually is individual coverage. We told you what wasn't individual coverage. What is individual coverage is an actual individual health plan. Medicare Parts A, B, and C. And you may purchase on or off an exchange. That enrollment period is now November 15th till the end of December. Offering an ICHRA mid-year is a special enrollment period allowing the employee 60 days to purchase exchange coverage. New hires also have a special enrollment period. So when we look at the ICHRA or the ICHRA limits, employers may offer different amounts to different classes of employees. Now remember, we talked about the size of the class. So based on the size of the employee's family, they can do this, and based on the employee's age. And if they do decide to do this based on an employee's age, the oldest employee may not have more than 3 times that of the youngest employee inside of a class. Oldest can't have more than 3 times the youngest within a class. So now we're going to look at the classes. And you saw that a few minutes ago. There are full-time employees, part-time employees, salaried employees, hourly employees, seasonal employees, and it's a pretty good distinction about everything that I've described. Temporary employees, employees who live in different locations, and that's based on rating areas, and non-resident aliens with no U.S. source of income. We also can do some classification with employees who have satisfied their waiting period, and we can use any combination of these categories that we've described above. So what can we do with this? Now we've kind of determined who can do it, how we can do it, when we can do it. The allowable expenses for this, assuming you have an individual health plan, that you can then write off your individual premiums, your 213 premiums, and you can do either one of those, or you can do both. So it's a really open-ended opportunity to participate in this, premiums or 213 out of pocket. So people let's talk a little bit about premium credits or subsidies, if you will. Employees enrolled in the ICHRA are not allowed premium tax credits, the ACE subsidy basically. The HRA allowance considered unaffordable coverage under the Affordable Care Act may opt out of ICHRA, allowing for the tax credits. So if your coverage is deemed unaffordable, then you can opt out. But if you opt out, you have to opt out of it all, and you're opting out annually for the year. And you have that choice every year, depending on your circumstances. So there are some notice requirements, and those notices need to be given 90 days prior to the plan start date. And this has to be a formal notice done annually for new plans, and that notice must be sent for those by the day the plan eligibility begins. New hire notice is required by the first day of eligibility. So if you have a new employee, that's required a little differently the first day of eligibility. Eligibility requirements, reimbursement amount, and the maximum dollar amount must be made available to the single employees. And this figure will be used in determining whether the ICHRA qualifies as affordable coverage. You also must have a notice how ICHRA affects the premium tax credits and the right for the employees to opt out of the ICHRA on an annual basis. So those are some of the notice requirements. There's a few more, and those cover the coverage dates, the plan year, and like we said, that has to be on a calendar year, and the statement that ICHRA, or the ICHRA, is not any other type of HRA. So now we're going to talk about a few other TASC benefits, and the first part of it is going to be a little bit of a further explanation of where the ICHRA can be more valuable than what we've discussed to this point. So first I want to tell you a little bit about TASC. TASC was founded in 1975, and the founder of TASC had discovered an easier way for people to receive the same tax advantages basically of large corporations, and basically what they were really looking for, not only to even the playing field, but to bring simplicity to the tax code. When I started at TASC, there was only 8 or 10 people in the whole entire company, and now it's grown from that one entrepreneur and the 8 or 10 of us up to a team of more than 1,000 employees at this point in time. And we know, just as I've illustrated in a couple of slides ago, that things are unpredictable. The rules and legislation, the restrictions on what we can do and what we can't do, and all the different products, the CHRA, the ICHRA, all the things that we've talked about have brought complexity and confusion to an industry that the whole thing was initially set up to be simple. And so with TASC, we discovered a new way to remove some of that complexity and a way to help the average American pay less tax and realistically be able to invest more in their health and in their prosperity. So when we started talking about individual insurance and what we can do with that, we know that we can do an individual coverage HRA because we just talked about that. And we can also write off, or with an individual HRA, we can also write off the health premium reimbursement. So the individual health premium itself, we can write off the out-of-pocket medical expenses, and we can write off dependent care. In the past, what that would have taken would have been a product for the HRA, a product maybe for the individual premiums, and maybe even a different product to do an HSA if we were to add that in. Then what we found in our research and our time of doing this is that again led to complexity. We have to have a different product, so we'd have to have a different login, we'd have to have a different way to reimburse or send in reimbursements, we'd have to have a different way to check our balances, and most importantly, we'd probably have to have a different debit card for all of those different scenarios. So what we did on the next slide is we came up with something here that looks kind of like a periodic elements chart, but we call it the endless aisle. And the endless aisle gives us the capability to not have to purchase, and you're seeing all these different accounts in here, you're not going to have to purchase all of these things wound into a product. These are all available on what we call our universal benefit account. And the reason we did this is because we wanted to make this easy, smart, and connected. And so when we talk about this, we see that there's individual coverage HRA that we talked about just a minute ago. And that individual coverage HRA was allowing us to write off individual coverage, which we've never been able to do in the past. We've also been able to use the out-of-pocket medical expense. And then we have dependent care involved in that as well. And you'll see that there's a ton of other things that we can do in regard to this. There's a bike account, there's workplace tools, and so on. So this also allows you not only to do the ICHRA, but all of the other things that we have illustrated on this endless aisle. And I believe we're up to 32 or 33 products now. And the reason it's called an endless aisle is it can grow continuously. So if we need to do group insurance, or if we're doing group insurance currently, we can do a healthcare premium reimbursement. We can do, again, the healthcare FSA or the out-of-pocket medical expense. We have the opportunity to do daycare, and also we have the opportunity to do parking and transit. So there's all kinds of things you can do, whether you have individual insurance or whether you have group insurance. It doesn't make any difference. We have it covered through the use of our endless aisle and our universal benefit account. So how can you offer TASC benefits to your clients? You can contract to become a TASC micro business provider, which gives you access to our regional sales directors that work all over the United States. Most of those regional sales, I shouldn't say most, all of those regional sales directors have a partner that's an enrollment specialist that will also help you in what you're doing. You have access to our library and to all of our history of what we've done throughout the course of the last 40 years. In addition to that, if you get engaged with us as a provider, we'll help you to determine a way to market this information out to your clients so that they can take advantage of the things that we've provided, not only in this webinar, but in other things that we have available to us at TASC. So how do you get a hold of us? It's pretty simple. The phone number is 888-595-2261, extension 17732. Our email is simple as well. It's microbusiness@tasconline.com. And if you'd like to go look up some more information, you can go to our website, and that is https://go.tasconline.com/CPA directory. Then we will be getting this information out to you. So if you need to contact us, it will be available in the information that we submit to you when we're done. So Margie, let's see if we have any questions now.
Well, Steve, surprisingly enough, I do not see any questions here.
Well, I guess that's just a sign that we've done a good job today, Margie.
Absolutely. And I guess if I were to think of a question that someone might ask would be, could I get a copy of the slide deck or a copy of this recorded presentation? And the answer to that is we will be sending that out to all attendees.
Well, right now, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to join us in this conversation. It's new, it's exciting, and I think there's tons of opportunity for all small businesses to help attract and retain employees and to overall help save some of the cost of healthcare. Thank you all for joining us and have a wonderful day.